All right, the Audible is on the air the day before Thanksgiving. First things first, I want to wish everybody out there a happy Thanksgiving. You're watching us on Periscope. You can go ahead and send your questions in via Twitter. Just hashtag the Audible. You can see us on a rebroadcast tomorrow on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page and on MiamiDolphins.com. Joining me from the Miami Herald, Armando Salguero. If you want to reach Armando Salguero, it's at Armando Salguero at ARMANDO SALGUERO, and keep up with his stuff each and every day from the Miami Herald. Armando, thanks for coming on the program, first and foremost.
Oh, Bo, it's my pleasure. It's always been my pleasure to speak with you about football. Every time I leave that conversation, I'm smarter.
You're scratching your head, right?
That too.
What the hell is he talking about? Hey, let's talk a little bit about this football team right now.
Yeah.
5 straight. They've won in different ways. Certainly 4 straight games where they've had to come back in the fourth quarter. And those games could have very easily gone the other way. What do you make of the makeup of this football team? Certainly it's a football team that you wouldn't say, I don't want, I guess flawed may be the word you use, but a team that certainly has some holes on it, but somehow, like putting on camouflage, they've been able to cover up for some of those holes and make up for some of the shortages that they have as a football team. How have they done it? And what is your synopsis on this team right now?
Oh, what they've done is they've found a way to, in part, play complementary football. Yep. You talk about their 5-game win streak. The last 3 games, they won the third of those games on special teams with a Kenyon Drake kickoff return touchdown. Then they followed that by winning the game on defense with a Kiko Alonso interception return for a touchdown. And then last week, they won on offense, even though they had 55 minutes of bad, ugly offense. The last 2 possessions of that game were touchdowns. They won it on offense in the final 6 minutes. And so they're finding ways. Everybody's pitching in. Not one person is responsible for it. It's not like you can stop, Jarvis Landry and you'll beat the Miami Dolphins, or you can stop Cameron Wake and it's over for the Miami Dolphins. It's every section of the team is helping. Every section has been responsible for a win the last 3 games, and it's coming together pretty nicely, I would say.
Maybe most surprising to me is the way the defense is played. When you went into the season, you're thinking to yourself, well, there's a couple guys you can't lose in this team. You can't lose Rashad Jones.
Right.
Xavier Howard was a huge piece coming in. Once you realize what he was going to be when he stepped on the field, you probably can't lose any linebackers, Jelani Jenkins or Koamisi, because it's pretty thin to begin with there. Yet you do lose all those guys, and lo and behold, you're still playing pretty darn good defense, because you talk about the offense in those 2 drives on Sunday in Los Angeles, but had it not been for a defense that kept the Rams offense in check and allowed them to be that close at the end of the game, you wouldn't have had that opportunity. So this defense has really stepped up, and you talked about the Kiko Alonso touchdown in San Diego that won that football game. But overall, when you look at them, they've kind of had their ups and downs when it comes to run defense, but they've been able to shore that up. They're getting good pass rush now. That's pretty consistent for them. And they're playing good enough defense. Byron Maxwell out there, who for a while was thinking, man, this guy, you got to find someone to step in. He's playing pretty good football. And Tony Lippett, a guy that was a wide receiver at Michigan State, has done a pretty good job of going out there and battling at that cornerback spot. Isa Abdul-Quddus filling in for as a leader in that safety spot for Rashad Jones is playing very good football. And so you look at it and you go, wow, these guys they're kind of getting better before your very eyes. And as they get better, so goes the defense getting better.
So you mentioned a couple of those guys. Tony Lippett, I see player development coming into play there, and I haven't seen player development happen with this team before. We're not here to rip the past.
No. But hey, look, for a decade, maybe more. How many times have we seen players, the Rob Ninkoviches, the guys like that have come to this football team? We let them go, and then they go somewhere else, and all of a sudden they become Pro Bowl type players. Yeah, exactly.
Or they came from somewhere where they were playing well. And they come here and they stink up the joint, and then they go somewhere else and they're playing well again. Yes. What's that all about? Well, that's player development.
Yes.
That's usage of the talent on hand.
Yep.
And so back to Lippett, he wasn't a good cornerback at the beginning of
No.
the season. And even though he was the starter in the preseason, you saw that when the regular season opener came around, he was on the bench because he had to be on the bench. But he got better, and he's been getting better. And, that was him with 2 interceptions a couple of games ago, and he's turned in another pretty good game this week. Now, Byron Maxwell, after that Seattle game, he went into the tank.
Yep.
And guess what? He got benched.
Yeah.
But because of the necessity and Xavier Howard's injury, they brought him back. He's better now. Yeah. Even though he's a veteran, he's been developed into a better player. I don't see that, in bad teams.
Yes.
You see that in good teams. Another thing that you see out of good teams is, what are the New England Patriots in their run of 5 billion consecutive AFC East championships? They always play better in December than they do in September. They always seem to go this way.
Yes.
And I think that this team finally is going this way. And by the way, they started 1-4. They're 6-4 now.
Yep.
If that's not the definition of doing that, I don't know what is. And I think that they're going to play better still as the season turns to December.
Look, I think they're believing in themselves. They've figured out what one thing they've done. They've been smart. They've figured out what they've done, what they did wrong early in the football season when they were 1-4. The mistakes they're making, guys running around blocks on defense, freelancing a little too much, offensively not staying with your blocks and running those stretch, and they're creating too many seams in there or not creating enough seams in there, and guys just aren't getting the job done. They've figured out how to shore that up, how to get that going in the right direction, and they've turned negatives on both sides of the football into positives. And as you said, players are getting better as they go along, and I think a lot of it has to do. And probably the prime example would be Ryan Tannehill and Adam Gase. Adam Gase, probably in this town, was the biggest believer and biggest supporter of Ryan Tannehill, bar none in this town. And as Ryan was struggling along in that offense in games 1 through 5, there was one guy in his ear saying, "Hey, you can get the job done. I believe in you. I trust you. I believe in you." And Ryan, you just see him now. Now you see him believing in himself. He's more confident in the way he plays. He does stuff now that you didn't see in the first 5 games this season that he's doing, stepping through a hole in the pocket to go ahead and make a play, getting out of the pocket, making a decision to run or not pass. I mean, that to me is the snapshot of that you can probably spread throughout this team to a number of players and watch. It's funny how players get better when somebody that's coached them believes that they can get better and believes they will get better and lets them know that. And I think that's kind of what this team's done. Hey, you're watching the Audible. Kim Bokamper, Armando Salguero from the Miami Herald with you. You can catch us if you're watching us on Periscope. Send your questions in via Twitter. Just hashtag the Audible. You can see us on a rebroadcast beginning tomorrow on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page. And you can see us on MiamiDolphins.com. Let me give you the injury reports for both teams today. Today's practice, the only 2 players that didn't participate in practice, Mike Pouncey and Brandon Albert. Xavier Howard continues to work on a limited basis. I still think he's a while away. Jelani Jenkins, limited. Doubt that he'll play this weekend. But one of the good things out there, Laramie Tunsil practice on a limited basis. I think there's a chance that he may be able to come back. We'll see. Only my opinion. Mario Williams practiced on the ankle, limited. We'll see what happens with him. But I think for the most part, you got to feel pretty good about the injury report for the Dolphins. As far as the San Francisco 49ers cornerback Jamie Ward with a concussion, he's the only who didn't practice. All the other ones are either limited or full practice, so I wouldn't expect them to be anything other than healthy and ready for this football game. Question from at Gratia Fido. This I think is a little bit of a Spanish one. I'm gonna give you that one.
Gratia
Fidesola. Gratia Fidesola. Why isn't Steen listed starting at center on Sunday? I don't know who's listed as starting for center on Sunday, but I imagine Pouncey is, but he's not going to play. So,
Pouncey's not
so
playing
it will be Anthony Steen. And speaking of Anthony Steen, Ulrich and Urbeck and Sam Young all had their ups and downs. But I tell you what, they found some way to battle it out and gut it out. And one thing I like about all three of those guys, they make a mistake, they don't get down, they get mad, and they want to come back and figure out some way to get the job done. And I think you see that in their play out there.
I think one of the things that wasn't highly thought of, that we didn't really focus on after that game on Sunday, was the fact that the Dolphins offense, when it got desperate, it went into fast mode. It went into the no huddle. It went into that. All of a sudden, the Los Angeles Rams are not shuttling players in and out. All of a sudden, those new players don't have to think, they're reacting.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, conditioning is starting to play a factor. I think on all of those, the Dolphins had advantages, especially on the conditioning.
Yes.
And so that's one of the unreported, untalked about
things that it kind of flies under the radar for people.
Yeah, exactly.
First of all, because most people aren't watching those guys down there and seeing what they're doing. They're watching the ball, and so which is understandable, and I mean nothing wrong with that. But I think to get from where they were on the 20-yard line or 25-yard line, wherever they were after the missed, I guess a 20-yard line after the missed field goal, someone's got to help them get down to the end zone, and it certainly was those guys.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that we're starting to see a little bit of Ryan Tannehill being more comfortable in this scheme, in this offense. People don't recognize that last year was a new offense for Ryan Tannehill, or the last 2 years was a new offense for Ryan Tannehill. Before that, it was, the offense that he had at Texas A&M. But this is his third offense in what, 3 years, or second offense in 3 years? It takes a minute, as to quote Adam Gase, who likes to say that everything takes a minute. Yes. I think that you saw a little bit of maturation in Ryan Tannehill. He knows what's going on.
Question.
Yeah,
we were both in the press conference after the game when he said, we get the ball, we're down 13 points, and he steps in the huddle and says, "Hey guys, relax, settle down. We're going to win this football game." Did you ever think you'd hear that from Ryan Tannehill?
No.
Yeah.
I
mean, based on the 4 years that we've had, covering him for the last 4 years, right?
Right. I mean, he's a confident guy, but not that guy.
Right.
And the fact that he was comfortable enough to then share it with us.
Exactly.
I mean, he might have said it before in that huddle, but it didn't leave that huddle.
It never would have got to. It never would have got to.
Right.
It never would have came to the podium. No question about that. JJT. 1950. Any news on Albert, Pouncey, and Tunsil? I'm going to give you one of these questions that I don't like, and I don't know about you, but give me a percentage on Albert, Pouncey, and Tunsil playing on each one of those playing on Sunday.
All right, so Pouncey's not playing. I think that's like 98.999%.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Albert, the problem with him is he's got the hand.
Yep.
It has to regain its grip, strength, and stability. You can't really block someone, especially someone with the talent of a Kim Bokamper rushing the quarterback.
Just trip me.
Right, exactly. So it depends on the time.
Yeah, you know what's funny with him? To me, it has a lot to do with the way they had to set his wrist. Yeah. If they set his wrist like this,
right,
then he could probably play.
Right.
Send his wrist like this, and you can't play.
Don't show me that hand like that. You're freaking me out, man. You're freaking me out.
Anyway,
you're doing this.
Anyway, that's
me.
My thing. That, from a guy that's played with a cast on my hand, believe me, I know that. Okay, so
Tunsil,
Albert,
I think
so Albert, you give him what, 60 no, 40 yes?
Yeah,
probably about
that's
that.
Fair. Yeah.
And Tunsil?
I think 60 yes, 40 no.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I may even give him 75 on that one. So those are that's kind of the news. Then there's no really news, but that's kind of what you see, and maybe you hear in the wind a little bit there. Odyssey Artist. Given our recent mentality and our remaining schedule, how possible is it to win out the schedule? They're not going to win out the schedule. It's just not going to happen. Look, they won 5 games already. They got 6 games to go. The chances of winning 11 straight games in this
the
league,
NFL,
I don't care if you're New England Patriots. I don't care if you're the 76 Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't care who you are. It's a monumental task, and you're going to trip up somewhere along that way.
It's possible. It's not probable.
Yes.
And not only that, for anyone to sit here and say they're going to do it.
Yeah.
that person is lying to you because you don't know what kind of injuries are going to happen. You don't know what the other team's health is going to be. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, well, I remember listening to the radio when we were out in L.A. and looking at some of the stuff, and they were talking, the Dolphins should win in double digits. Well, hey, you know what? Look what happened. I mean, you're scraping up to you have 36 seconds left in the game when you finally took the lead in that football game against the Rams. So, you can look at that schedule that the Dolphins have left and go, we can beat that team, that team, that team. Well, it just doesn't go that easy. L Big at Leon L Big, Scar through 6-4. Leon, what are you writing here, bro? What my man Leon in there? I got a producer here. He's like he speaks in like I don't know hieroglyphics or something. Can you figure that one out?
Scar thought 6-4 without playing a complete game. Would you agree? How good could they be?
You have any idea what that means? That right there. See right there in the window there? Neon Leon right there. That's the guy.
I understand the how good could they be question.
L Big, that's probably a good question, but my producer Leon just butchered it by the time it got to me. Roberto won 1979-69. Why and how is this team so much in tune than before? I think that to me is pretty simple. I look at two guys. I look at Adam Gase and I look at Vance Joseph. I think those guys, they're the conduit to these players and to how they play and what their attitudes are and the closeness of this football team. And I think this is a very close football team, Armando. And I think those guys are as responsible as anybody from a player-coach standpoint. I just think they've done a good job. You never talk to a player. You've been around here long enough where you'll talk to a player and go, geez, I don't know what this guy's doing, his offense, his defense. You don't hear that. Now, these guys believe in what they're doing, and they believe in those two guys that they know the best path to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, and that doesn't just happen.
No.
That takes time. So I would say that Father Time is also responsible for some of this success. Earlier this year, in fact, before the season started, I compared this team to the 1981 Washington Redskins.
Okay.
And the reason I did that was because Joe Gibbs took over in 1981 in Washington, and they started out 0-5.
Yep.
And Joe Gibbs wasn't handing John Riggins the football. Yep. They weren't running the counter trade because he didn't know that was the thing.
Yep.
They weren't doing certain things on defense. All of a sudden, he learned his team.
Yes.
All of a sudden, the team learned the scheme.
Yeah.
They finished out. I think they finished 8-8 after starting out 0-5, and the next year they went to the Super Bowl. Sorry, against the Miami Dolphins.
I always appreciate you bringing things up like that.
But the point being,
you're right though.
This team has kind of mirrored that. They started out 1-4.
Yep.
There was. I mean, how many times did Adam Gase say, "I didn't know what I didn't make that right call"? Today, Vance Joseph said, I was wrong not having Cam Wake as a starter early in the season because he didn't know Cam Wake.
But they're open enough and smart enough to figure it out and say, hey, look, Adam Gase, I've said this time and time again on the show, Adam Gase, he wants to throw the football all around the yard. If he had his way, he'd be like Dan Marino. Every play, just throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. But he figured out the way to win with this football team is to pound the football, run it behind that big offensive line, wear teams down, take advantage of them in the fourth quarter. And so he changed his plan of attack in midstream. And I mean, it's pretty clear to say the difference between 1-4 and where they're at right now and 6-4 are those five guys up front and the ability to run the football. And even with those guys out in the game, even with those guys out in LA, still running the football late in the game, still giving the ball to Ajayi in a key situation on that last drive where he's able to get a first down. And at that point, you can say, hey, geez, we're in field goal range now. Might as well just go for the score. And so even at that point, they relied on the running game to help them.
And even Gase has made some adjustments. I mean, if you watch what he did at Denver, if you watch what he did at Chicago, he was an inside zone run guy. The Miami Dolphins are an outside zone run team.
Yes.
Because Jay Ajayi prefers outside zone. And so that's what they're doing because Jay Ajayi went to Adam Gase and said, hey, coach, if you run these 3 plays, and 2 of them are outside zone that you don't like,
then I'm going to be better at it.
I'm going to be better at it. And Adam Gase said, Adam Gase said, no, forget it. I like the inside
Yeah.
zone. You're going to. No, he didn't. He did the Shula thing.
Yeah.
He did you're my guy. I'm going to adjust my stuff to my talent.
Very much the same thing he did with Ryan. He's done with Ryan Tannehill since the beginning to the end. Hey, you're watching the Audible here. Kim Bokamper from the Armando Salguero from the Miami Herald. How many years have you been covering the Dolphins, Armando, altogether?
My first year was 1990 when I was 4 years old.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was 8 then at the time myself. If you're watching on Periscope, you can send your questions in via Twitter, #TheAudible. You can see us on a rebroadcast on the Miami Dolphins Facebook page beginning tomorrow and on MiamiDolphins.com. DC Ferris, I wonder how Deion Jordan did today. I don't think it matters how Deion Jordan. In my mind, I to be honest with you, I got nothing against Deion Jordan. I just don't ever see him lining up and helping this football team. That's my opinion. No.
Ever.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He's been here for how many times? He's been here for what, 3 years? Or he's been. When did they draft him? 3 years ago.
Yes.
So he's been
2013.
He's been on the team he's been with the team for. He's been around for 3. I don't know.
He hasn't even been around.
I know. I'm having a hard time figuring out what you even say about him.
He has been property of the Miami Dolphins for 3 years.
Yes. Hasn't started a game. 3rd pick in the draft. And I don't know. When I look at him, I just don't see a guy that looks like he's, so enthused about playing the game.
When Deion Jordan showed up that first day, he looked
lean
like,
and mean.
He looked like Jason Taylor.
Yes, sir.
He was like his back went like this.
Yep.
And I was thinking, oh my God, this guy is Jason Taylor.
Yep.
And you look at him now, he's 275 pounds. I saw him in practice last Friday, and he wasn't practicing, but he was walking like Fred Sanford.
Yeah, no, he's just.
And God bless him. I hope he.
Yeah, I do too, but I just don't see it.
Gets it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see at this point.
Pretty disappointing. Twitter question: what is the strain mantra or mantra? Is it mantra or mantra that Gase and the team is using this year?
Yeah, Adam Gase wants his players to strain. Play to the whistle.
Strain also means, you know what? If you're reaching out to make a tackle and that guy's that far away, strain to get there. If you're a running back and you can see the first down marker and you're close, strain. In other words,
don't go out of bounds.
Yes, just give that little extra whatever.
Yes.
That's what the strain mantra is to this football team.
One of the things that he felt good about for the Los Angeles game, knowing that he was going to not be with, not have Mike Pouncey and not have Brandon Albert, was he knew that the guys that were going to play were going to strain.
Yes.
They're going to be try-hard guys.
Yeah.
They're going to give it their all. They're going to give up their bodies.
Yes.
And that's something that if you remember in October against Tennessee, when he started Dallas Thomas and he started Billy Turner, neither of those two guys were strain guys.
Right.
And so that was the difference between strain and
It's funny because somebody asked me when they let those two guys go. Good guys, nice guys, enjoyed having them around, but they asked me about those guys, man, that's going to hurt their depth. And I say, you know what, I look at it that their depth just got better. Because to me, I'd rather have those two guys, Urbeck and Steen, and even Sam Young.
Sam Young.
I'd rather have those. I'd feel better with those guys because just what you said. Look, one of those guys get beat. He's going to probably try to throw a leg whip on somebody. He's going to do whatever he's going to try to do, whatever it takes.
Spit.
But those are the kind of guys I'd rather have. Hey, you're watching the Audible. If you're watching on Periscope. Hashtag the Audible through Twitter. You can get your questions in. Miami Dolphins Facebook page on a rebroadcast basis and on MiamiDolphins.com. Joey Bag of Donuts, what are some keys? What are some key things we have to execute to defeat the 49ers? Well, I think much like every game that this team has played during this 5-game winning streak, it's not so much about the 49ers, it's about themselves. I've always been a firm believer in whatever sport I've ever played. Just go out and play the best you can play. Don't worry about the score. Don't worry. When I used to play a lot of golf, I didn't want to add up my score because I wanted the next shot. I want to know the next shot was important to me. I want to know I had to make a shot on this. I know in football, I didn't keep track of the scoreboard because it didn't matter. Because when I got in the field, when they snapped the football, I had to play that play the best I could. And so I think that's what this football team is about. Certainly, you look at the other team, you look at the game plan, you look at this, but that doesn't do any good if your football team is not giving you everything they can give. And I think that's kind of the personality of this football team also.
Also, you mentioned earlier there's flaws in this team.
Yeah.
They know that they are a flawed football team. And so I don't think you're going to have the Miami Dolphins going, well, we've won 5 games in a row.
Yeah. All we got to do is roll our helmets out there.
We're all that.
49ers are coming in. They're 1-9. I don't see that happening.
No. So you get the feeling that they're going to strain as a team. And they're going to realize that if they let down even the terrible, god-awful 49ers and their wacky quarterback, Colin Kaepernick,
they could easily lose this football game, no question about it. So I think the key to doing it is just doing what they're doing. Play the best they can play. Byron Maxwell, you may not be perfect, but play the best you can play. Battle after battle for every ball that goes up there. Spencer Paysinger, Neville Hewitt, both of you guys haven't been starters in this league. Now you're playing a lot of downs. Just do what you've been doing and play the best you can play on every play. I think that's the key to getting the job done. Trod 1289. If the Dolphins finish 9-7, will Tannehill be back? Or would he have competition for the job? I think over the last 5 weeks, I think Ryan Tannehill has solidified his job more so than any time since he's been here. Unless he has a monumental collapse going between now and the end of the season, I don't think there's any question that Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback here next year. Will they draft somebody? Possibly, but I don't see them coming in saying, I don't see them sitting in that meeting room, again, unless there's something dramatically changes over these last games that they're scratching their head going, what are we going to do with the quarterback position? Because I know this, Adam Gase believes that Tannehill can take them as far as this football team wants to go. Right. Whether he can or not, we find out, but I know Adam Gase believes that he can do that.
And for the record, there is talk out there that, Jay Cutler, who played for Adam Gase last year, he would be an option. No, not happening. No Jay Cutler. Forget that. Yep. It's not happening. Did I say that it's not happening?
You did. At Hollywood 80, why aren't we good at running screens? Most teams can. I think we've done some decent screens. I tell you, the ones I don't like are those little bubble screens that have been horrendous. -1, -2, +1. Yeah, I could do without those, but I think from a true screen in my mind, where you drop back, let the lineman get out there. I think, look, they're not a big screen. They're not a big screen team. I don't think they are going to be.
Adam Gase knows that a lot of people in the media don't like bubble screens. You know how much Adam Gase cares about that?
Not one, because he's going to run them. He's going to run them every time he can. Yeah.
Because to him, that is the default running game.
Yes.
When you've got people like Aaron Donald in the middle of the Rams defense, and he happens to be the best interior lineman in the NFL. Do you run at the best interior lineman in the NFL, or do you pitch it over there to Jarvis Landry and hope that Jarvis Landry
can breaks
a tackle? Of course, he didn't, but that's the thinking.
Yep, I got it. Blythe28 at Blythe28. Dolphins will benefit since several teams are out of it and they won't be given 100%. I think that's a fallacy out there. Look, there are going to be some teams that are going to throw the towel in, no question about that, but I don't know. I got to admit, there were times when I played in games late in the season. You play a team, you go, these guys don't even care. They don't care unless they're going to be here. And you kind of, you maybe don't prepare as much as you did before. And 9 times out of 10, it bites you right in the butt. Yeah. And so I don't buy into that.
I remember one year Shula was still the coach, and the Colts were something like 1-12 or something. And I'm thinking, and I wrote, this is going to be a blowout. The Colts won like 31-0 in Indianapolis. Yep. And I learned my lesson at that point. You don't underestimate. These guys are prideful professionals, most of them.
It's that thought, hey, play to lose so you can get the first pick in the draft. I just don't know how teams do that. I don't know how a team.
I don't think teams.
I don't know how a professional athlete who's competed in it. You take one of these guys and you put them on a ping pong table. You want to flip coins. You want to do anything. They're going to want to win. and they're going to fight to win. And so I just don't think that's I don't think that's in their DNA. Where are we at here? El Chapo Jr., one of my favorites. El Chapo Jr. Will Jai break 1,000 yards in the next 2 games? Ooh, I don't know the next 2 games. Where's he at? 100? He's at 800, right? 8 and change. Yeah. I mean, he could do it. I know this after. Before San Diego, I think he had to get 40 yards a game through the last 7 games to reach 1,000. I don't think there's any question he gets there unless he gets injured somewhere along the line. But
Baltimore has a pretty good run defense.
Yes. But look, he's 200 yards away. I would think he's going to get there. At Light on the Dome. I don't know if that's a light on the dome or light in the dome. I think that might be one of our guys in the back. Is that Trey back there? Light in the dome back there? Okay. Oh, who is it? Oh, it's Squatch back there. Squatch is lighting the dome. There you go.
Squatch
how hard
as in sauce? Squatch as in sauce?
Squatch is in Sasquatch. That's what it is. How hard is it for a West Coast team to play on the East Coast? I don't think it's that big a deal. This week is a little odd for the 49ers because you've got Thanksgiving in the middle of it, which always kind of creates a little change in your practice situation and everything. So, if anything, maybe it's a little different. But look, teams coming in at 1-9, I think they got bigger problems than whether they're flying all the way to Miami or they're playing in LA the next week.
Yeah, for the 49ers, it's how difficult is it that they're playing, regardless of where the venue is at.
That's it. Armando, I appreciate you stopping in, man. It was a quick half hour.
Thank you.
We'll have to do it again another time.
Yeah.
Armando Salguero at the Miami Herald. You can catch him at Armando Salguero each and every day. I want to wish each and everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe. Enjoy your families. Enjoy dinner. Enjoy the football games. And we'll see you back here again on Friday.